All right, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 10, and verse 36. And it says, "And a man's foes shall be they of his own household." I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders of the nation of Israel. Shalom to you brothers out there that are laboring, enduring the elements, making your body a living sacrifice, trying to seal the elect, making your call and election sure, seeking out your own salvation, as well as you sisters that are learning, listening, applying, being obedient to your husbands. Shalom, shalom. Once again, it's the brother Zachariah coming back to you with another lesson here on this. It's actually a nice Saturday for once. All right, we had some extreme weather last night, which I kind of slept through it. I set my alarm because I came home. You know, it was a long and rough day, and then I had to run and do some errands. You know, get some things knocked out real quick because I had a few bills to pay, get a few, get a few groceries or whatnot while I was out in that area. And then, I just came back. I felt very just like exhausted. This was a long day. I've been up early that day, so I laid down for a little bit, but I set my alarm because they said that we had a powerful storm coming that was, capable of producing tornadoes, strong winds, might knock out power and stuff, which there's a lot of power outages in the neighboring cities. All right, but we got spared, and that just shows you that Yahweh Shem Yahushua is going to protect his elect. All right. That's who we put our trust in. So like I said, I slept, but then when I woke up, it was still going on. The wind was out there. It was extreme. It was something, but it was very intense. But there was no damage or nothing like that. But like I said, a lot of the neighboring cities got hit, and I'll probably talk about it in my highways, Lord willing. I was thinking about doing a lesson, but I said I'll just talk about it in my highways. I wanted to knock out some of these other lessons, things that have just been popping up. I got so many articles and stuff, so I'm like, and then when I do my highways, I try to hit some of the most key points on there, and the other ones I'll do other lessons, but then other things pop up. You got people, bug outs pop up, scoffers, all things that might need to be addressed within the nation. So we have to cover those things. So something might take a back burner, but here we are. All right, but let me run over to Instagram real quick so that I can show you what inspired me to do this lesson. All right, which you can see here. I started off with Matthew 10:36, which I'm gonna come back and read it again so that you'll see where we're headed with this. Okay, so let me run over there real quick. Okay, I was on this site here. It is called The Uncut. All right, and it has 3 T's on it. But I guess they post certain little things. But it was one that I wanted to go into. And they show a lot of different folly. They're talking about the Diddy case, which me and a brother was speaking on it. And you can see all this stuff. Look, these women over here half dressed, all kind of stuff. But a lot of the stuff with the Diddy, all right, which you ain't. And the Tory Lanez, that's another one. This Halle Berry girl, issues with her man, and it's coming out. She was talking about domestic violence, I guess, with him. All that stuff is just folly, man. But it was an article going to, and I hope I didn't pass it up. Let me go back up. Yeah, here we go.
$2,500 a month. No, it ain't no help. You take the hip out. That's $2.7 million in child support. Wow. Yes, that is what I paid. Now I got the number because I never added it up. And that's not including paying the attorney's fees. So it's well over $3 million because you got to pay the other side attorney's fees. And everybody mad at me. I got one child called me up, tell me Happy Father's Day. I tell them all, I'm crazy. I said, if you hate me so much, won't you change your last name? Nobody wants to do that. $2.7 million, 5 kids. And that was $540,000 for 18 years. One of my friend on here added up, it was well over, it was around $2 million. And everybody mad at me. They would not dare call me and say, Happy Father's Day. Because the motherfuckers turned them against me. Hey, which is okay. That's fine. God has a way of teaching people. Look at that. Zeke, you're like, oh my God. The only thing I'm going to require is you carry yourself in a respectful way and you conduct yourself in a respectful way. And when you come over here, you come over here in peace. You ain't finna have no liquor with me. You ain't finna smoke no weed in my house. We ain't finna have no motherfucking conversations. And if you feel like you grown, this ain't the place to be. And that was 500.
All right, so you pretty much heard what he said. You know, I guess all of his kids are against him. One of them called him on Father's Day, which Father's Day is going off. That's not a holiday. And I wanted the reason why I'm jumping on this lesson, because a lot of times I would skip something like this. But this is, I mean, it's heavy because look at how much he paid in child support. Good God, you know, 2.7 million. But another reason why I wanted to go into this is because I didn't do a lesson on Mother's Day, which normally all the different pagan holidays, when they come up, I tap into them, and I didn't get to that one. And I think it was a lot, man. A lot's been going on with these other articles, prophecy, things popping off. So you know, things like that take a back burner, but that's an important lesson to go into, because a lot of our people may not see Mother's Day as going off. All right, which that Mother's Day holiday, hey, we supposed to honor thy mother and father every day, man. It's not some single day. So I wanted to make sure I mention that. All right, but yeah, I didn't get a chance to, but Father's Day, when that come up, I'm gonna probably just do a double. I'm gonna go into the Mother's Day and the Father's Day lessons. I'll go ahead and do that. But you know, Salakia for that, because like I said, that's a thing that I do just every year as I do these lessons. I always go into those pagan holidays when they pop up and go into how those are not our customs. Okay. But yeah, it says I paid $2,500 a month. All right, and 2.7 million total in child support. All 5 of my kids hate me, Uncle Luke says. Uncle Luke, I don't know if y'all know who he is, but he was an artist, all right, back in like the 90s, all right. He could have been in the 80s too, but I know the early 90s. You know, I'm an 80s baby, so, you know, I remember him. He was part of a group called 2 Live Crew, all right. You know, he's from Miami, all right. And then he probably did a lot of cameos and videos, you know, other videos. You know, he's well known, okay. But 5 kids, man, 2.7 million in total. And he says all his kids hate him. All right, which that's a thing that you see amongst our people all throughout Babylon, man. And even not just here in Babylon, but wherever our people are scattered. You know, and a lot of this has to do with the curses and things like that as well. Okay, so I just want to tap into a few things regarding this, man, because this is heavy, man. All right. But let me read the headline on here. This says, Uncle Luke says he paid over 2.7 million in total in child support for his 5 kids, and they all hate him because they were turned against him. Yep, a lot of times there'll be a bitter ex-wife, you know, ex-girlfriend, baby, whatever you want to call it. Okay, they be bitter, and they turn the kids against you. Okay. You know, my mother tried to turn me and my siblings against our father, all right? Even though my father, you know, is, you know, he's jacked up, man. Like, he deals with, like, he's bipolar and schizo, you know? But despite all that, you still shouldn't shun the kids away, you know, from their father. You know, just, you know, you let us figure that out for ourselves, all right? Now, you could give us a warning, but, you know, at the end of the day, he's still our father. All right, you know, and so I got to have a relationship with my father, but yeah, I experienced a lot of stuff with him, and you know, like I said, we're not on talking terms. I barely speak to my mom, but a lot of it is just because I'm in this truth, and then they don't gravitate to it. All right, you know, of course, you know, as we grow in this thing, we of course came in contact with our peoples and we told them the truth and they rejected. All right. So then I knocked the dust off my feet and keep it moving. But I'm going to be around like-minded people. OK, so if, you know, your family, they're not going to gravitate to it, then, you know, what else do we have to talk about, you know? But, you know, he moved funny a lot anyways. So I just kind of like, because I don't do drama. I don't do the weird vibes and all that stuff. If I feel like, you know, I come around and it's a hindrance or it's a problem, or you like, you know, you really don't want me around, or you don't love me or care about me or whatever, well then guess what? I'm gonna remove myself from the equation. Okay? You know, so you know, I just can't deal with all that. But here it is, you know, he obviously seems like he would love to have that relationship with his children, but you know, they don't talk to him. You know, they hate him, you know? Okay? And that's the power of a bitter mother, man. Okay? They could really influence the kids like that, you know, but all that is part of the curses, which I want to get that precept, but let's go ahead and go back. All right. And Matthew 10:36, it says, a man's foes shall be they of his own household. Okay. So yeah, your foes will be those of your own household, you know, and I've talked about it in some of my lessons, you know, how, you know, certain family members don't rock with me because of this truth, which that's going to come with it. Okay. The Bible says you will be hated of all men for my name's sake. Now, of course, Uncle Luke, that artist, you know, known as Uncle Luke, he's probably not in this truth, you know, but even though he's not in this truth, don't mean that he's not going to suffer those things. You're going to be hated, you know, because of the curses and stuff like that, which we're going to get into that. All right. But let me get another precept. All right. All right. This is the book of Deuteronomy 28 and start at verse 54. And it says, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother. All right. And towards the wife of his bosom. OK. And it could be vice versa, you know. You know, you know, you might think you'd be the man, but, you know, which that happens. OK, but it also could be the woman just hating on the children. OK, which we're going to get that. All right. But it says, and towards the wife of his bosom and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. OK, so you have a lot of that. All right. And then I'm going to jump down to 56. OK, it says, the tender and delicate woman among you, which would not venture to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil towards the husband of her bosom. OK, so the woman was going to have an evil eye towards her husband, ex-husband, baby daddy, whatever. You know, you're going to have a lot of that. It says, and towards her son and towards her daughter. OK, so she'll be bitter towards them as well. OK. But before that even happens, they'll pin them kids against you. You know, oh, he don't want to be around you and all that. So they might hate and feel like he maybe he wants to be around, but you know, he don't want to be around. You know, he don't want to deal with the drama. You know, so on the strength, you know, he has to stay away. All right. So you have a lot of that, and then also you might have fathers that actually pay child support, but they don't. But the bitter mother, you know what I'm saying, she may not put it towards the kids. You have a lot of that. You know, I've known people like that. I remember back in the world, I was dating this one girl, man, and she actually was getting child support for her kids, and she actually was taking some of the money that she got and went and tried to buy me some clothes, which I didn't need anything. I didn't need no clothes. Like I make my own money, which I made more money than her. I had plenty of clothes. I don't know why it was just something random, you know. And she's like, I went and I bought you some shirts, which they were undershirts, and I didn't ask for that. I said I got them. Why would you do that? You know. And she was like, you know, oh, I was just, you know, I was out there and I just thought, you know, I was like, no, you know, you took that money that for those kids and you went and did that for me. And I said, no, take it back. You know, take it back and get your money. You know, that's some child's money. You know, or yeah, that's their money. You know, and I was, you know, I didn't have cash because I don't carry cash like that. Other than that, I would have just gave her the money for them. You know, how much you pay and give her the money. So you know, put that back towards them children, man. Because I didn't ask her to even do that. It was just random as hell, man. But it bothered me because, you know, I wasn't raised like that, you know. And I've been around toxic people like that. I've seen them where they'll take the money, and I mean, she was a prime example, and that just was a red flag for me, man. You know, like, you to just randomly do that, and that means that's something that she does. You know, you putting me over your children, and that's not right. All right. But yeah, this is part of the curses, okay? So you're gonna have those type of issues, man. You know, some may not can't make sense of it, but a lot of our people, most of our people are affected by this, man, and that's the curses. All right, this is him right here, the guy we saw in the interview, Uncle Luke. All right, it says American rapper. All right, which it says Luther Roderick Campbell, also known as Luke Skywalker. Uncle Luke, which that's what I'd always knew him as, or simply Luke, is an American rapper, promoter, record executive, actor, and former leader of the rap group 2 Live Crew. So yeah, that's him. All right. So you see, and it says spouse Christian Thompson. So obviously he's married now, and he's been married since 2008. Okay, which that's beautiful. So he found him somebody. All right. And then it says children, and he got the one on there that says Lucretia Campbell. But he has 5 kids, but yet it's only naming 1. So I'm guessing the other ones don't deal with him. He says, I got 5 kids. So the other ones, and I guess that might have been the one that called and told him Happy Father's Day, which that's going off. But we'll talk about that when Father's Day is coming up. You know, I'll have to do a lesson. But I'm going to go into Mother's Day as well, all right, to make up for that. All right, so while we're speaking about mothers and fathers, all right, this is Exodus 20 and 12, okay? No matter what people say about, you know, your mom, your dad, you know, like I said, and I love my parents, both of them, even though they're not in this truth, and, you know, and they've been blinded by the God of this world, you know, I still love them because they are my parents, all right? And, you know, if they ever called me and talked to me, I'm not going to talk to them like any old kind of way. Hey, you know, yes, sir, no, sir. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. You know, very polite. But those are my parents, all right? That Yahweh Shem Yahushua given me, man. All right? But it says, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy power, all right, Yahweh, giveth thee. All right? So, you know, you're supposed to honor thy mother and father, man. Don't treat them like shit or nothing like that, all right? You know, and, you know, and I've seen it, man. I've seen the way people treat their parents, you know, call them all type of names out of the book, you know, anything but a mother or a father, all right? You know, and both of my parents are very, very toxic, you know, had a lot of issues with them and everything. But, you know, despite that, I still love them, you know. All right, so, you know, don't let stuff like that get to you. But but also that's part of the curses. All right, so you're gonna see this more and more, you know. But don't just go out here, especially, and I'm talking to y'all that are of the hopeful elect, okay? You know, because when we come in this thing, we can get this knowledge and truth, and then we can get a little over righteous, and then you get to a point where you start talking crazy to your folks, like, oh, I got this truth, you don't, you're gonna be destroyed, you just out here, you know, and you know, they still your folks, man. All right, but at the end of the day, you know, if they out there, then let them be out there. You know what I'm saying? You warned them. You got the blood off your hands. So you shake the dust off your feet, you know, but you're going to be joined unto like-minded people. And it's true. All right. But it was something else I wanted to highlight, because while we're looking at parents, I was checking out Luke's parents, Uncle Luke. I'm like, all right, well, I want to know about his parents. You know, where he come from? Because, you know, you'll figure out as far as, you know, going into the tribes. All right, it says Luther, Uncle Luke Campbell, a key figure in the Miami bass and southern hip hop scene, has Jamaican ancestry on his father's side. Okay, so that would probably more than likely make him be of the tribe of Benjamin. All right, so I was like, okay, you know. And here it was. I thought he was just African American, you know, like, you know, before the truth, of course, you know how we, you know, say, oh, I'm African American, you know. But here it is, you know, he of Jamaican ancestry, all right, by way of his father, okay. And it says his mother was of Bahamian ancestry, okay, the Bahamas, all right. So both his parents are from the West Indies, okay. It says he was born in Miami and became a prominent figure in the Group 2 Live Crew, known for their controversial and sexually explicit lyrics. You know, and yeah, Yeah, they have some very controversial lyrics and stuff like that. So, you know, you understand, especially if you live in what you're rapping about, you can see why, you know, here it is. You have, what is it, 5 kids and all these different baby mamas and stuff. And then they pin the kids against you. Okay. So you have a lot of that. All right. But let's go into Benjamin, all right? It says, in the King James Version of the Bible, Benjamin is the youngest son of Jacob, all right, and the founder of the tribe of Benjamin. He is described as being born near Bethlehem, where his mother Rachel died during childbirth. Yes, that was the Benjamin is the final son of Jacob, okay? You know, he had the 12 sons. That was number 12, Benjamin. He is described as being born near Bethlehem, where his mother Rachel died during childbirth. You know, Rachel being the sister of Leah. All right, this is Rachel was the sister that Jacob loved. You know, he worked them 7 years to get her. But part of our custom, which I didn't notice, but I remember over the years, a brother brought it out in a lesson that part of our tradition was that it was like a shame to marry the younger daughter before the older daughter. All right, so he ended up giving him Leah. So he had to work another 7. So he worked 14 total years, you know. But it was a blessing about Leah, because through Leah, you know, Leah gave him Judah, which Judah, that's where our Messiah come out of. All right. So if he didn't have Leah, who's to say, you know, how that all would have played out. All right. So that was beautiful. And she actually gave him the most sons. OK. She, you know, out of the 12 sons, she gave him 6, but she gave him 7 children, because she gave him also Dinah, all right, the only girl, all right. But again, Rachel died during childbirth. It says Jacob later renamed him Benjamin, okay, because he was named something before Benjamin. It says, which means son of the right hand. That's heavy, all right. It says Benjamin was a full brother, all right, to Joseph. All right, because they both had the same mother, and they got the same mother and father. Okay, you know, we all stem from Jacob, but we all have our different mothers. All right, like if I'm of Gad, then you know, my mother would be Bilhah. All right, and then I would be more like linked with like those of the tribe of Asher. All right, Gad and Asher, we both have the same mother and father, which is heavy, because my best friend in high school was Peruvian, which we know them to be the you know, part of the Asherites. All right, he would have been Asherite. All right, but it says son of the right hand. It says Benjamin was a full brother to Joseph and was not involved in the plot to kill his brother. All right, so hey, that's heavy. Okay, and I didn't know that. You know, see, you learn something new. All right, it says the King James Bible Dictionary notes that Benjamin's birth took place between Bethel and Bethlehem. All right, but one of the key things here is that it says it, which means son of the right hand. All right, so I want to go to my next precept, which is in the book of Luke, which is heavy because the lesson was talking about Uncle Luke. So it's spiritual. All right, here it is. His name is Luke. All right, and his father has Jamaican ancestry, which when you go into Benjamin or Jamaicans, they would be of the tribe of Benjamin. Okay, so here it is, and then we're going, and then it says that name Benjamin goes into the son, you know, on the right hand. All right, well, it says, this is Luke 22:69, and it says, hereafter shall the Son of Man sit on the right hand of the power of God. Okay, so see, all right, and this is in Luke, you know, so that's spiritual. All right, so again, hereafter shall the Son of Man sit on the right hand of the power of God. Okay, Yahweh Shai. All right, so while we're now talking about Yahweh Shai, let's get this. This is Luke 12, and starting at verse, this is also in Luke. Hey, that's the spirit. All right, this is Luke 12, and starting at verse 51, it says, suppose ye that I've come to give peace on earth. Okay, so when you're talking about your children hating you and stuff like that, things are going to start making more and more sense about the times that we're in. All right, and it says, suppose ye that I've come to give peace on earth, I tell you nay, but rather division. Okay, verse 52, for from henceforth there shall be 5 in one house divided. All right, and it says 3 against 2 and 2 against 3. So the people, you know, your household, they're going to be division. All right, you know, especially if they are not of They're not of the elect. They're going to suffer of these things. Now, us that are coming into this faith, we're going to come back together, all right, in these last days, okay? You know, if a whole household is coming back to Yahweh Shem Yahushua, he's not going to put no division between you. But this is for those on the outside, man. But it says, for from henceforth shall there be 5 in one house divided, 3 against 2 and 2 against 3. All right. Verse 53 says, the father shall be divided against the son, and the son against the father, the mother against the daughter, and the daughter against the mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and the daughter-in-law against the mother-in-law. And you see this time after time after time. You know, we talk about a lot of these things in our articles, certain articles that we come across. All right. So I wanted to pull up the word divided. All right. And it says split into parts, separated. Okay. Second one, it says not united in this disagreement. Okay. Which our people, all right, as a whole, we were divided. Okay. And guess what happened? We fell as a people. All right. So the fact that Yahushua is saying that he's not coming with peace, but rather division, it's really a war tactic, man. A very genius one at that, because it's causing, and he's putting that division upon this whole world. You're seeing all these different nations, divided, and which is going to cause them to all collapse. All right. So when they all collapse, that's going to be the perfect time to establish the kingdom of heaven, which we're looking for. We're looking for a new heaven and a new earth. So where, you won't have to be like Uncle Luke talking about, I'm paying all 2.7 million in child support, or, all my kids hate me. Your kids are going to love you in the kingdom. All right. So that's what you should strive for. The answers are found here in the Bible. OK, you got to come back to the marriage, like me and a brother were talking about earlier in the comment. We gotta come back to the marriage, man. The answers are in the Bible. You wanna, if you wanna be out in this world, that's gonna be the end result. You paying all this child support out, your baby mama hates you, all your children hate you, and you're just alone, even though, clearly he's married, okay, and then he got the one child from the marriage he's in now, current one, and I guess that might be the one that deals with him, okay, but the rest of them don't talk to him, okay, and you see this all the time. All right, you can have all the money in the world, man, but there's no happiness. All right, this is Mark 3:25, and it says, and if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. So yeah, that house was gonna collapse. All right, and everybody in it, man, you're gonna fall. Okay, so again, if a house be divided, all right, against itself, that house cannot stand. All right, and like I said, that's a very genius move, from the Heavenly Father through his son Yahushua, all right, to bring this place down. All right, so while that's happening and we have understanding, we're coming back to the Heavenly Father. All right, we're showing brotherly love to our brothers, our sisters. Okay, sisters showing love to the other sisters. You know what I'm saying? We're coming back in this faith and truth and doing what we got to do to make our call and election sure. All right, seeking out our own salvation through fear and trembling, because we know the power we serve. We know that he controls all things. Okay, men's goings are of the Lord. So that's why, understanding that, we know who we serve. We know who we need to come back to, and we're repenting. So with that, while these nations are crumbling and they're falling, hey, we're coming back together. All right, this is Zephaniah 2:1, and I'll go ahead and end it with this. And Lord willing, this has been edifying. Just a quick lesson, a little straight to the point one. I'm gonna probably go ahead and start getting ready for my highways here pretty soon. And then I don't know. I'm gonna keep track on the time. I wanted to do another lesson, but I don't know. Maybe I might, go ahead and get my highways, go ahead and knock that out, and maybe Lord willing, I'll do one tonight or something. I don't know, because with the highways one, it takes a lot of time to edit, get it together, and then render it, and then get it uploaded. That's a lot of time in there. But if I can get it done, I might do the other one, tonight. But there's a lot of lessons, man. A lot of stuff coming out. All right. But this is Zephaniah 2:1. It says, gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired. What nation is that? That's the nation of Israel, the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans of indigenous descent. All right. by way of their father, going back to our forefather Jacob, who is the progenitor of the Israelites. Okay, we are the ones that need to come back together in these last days. Okay, you know, because if not, we're going to fall with this place. We know 2/3 are going to. All right, but the Heavenly Father has preserved a remnant, an elect. Okay, and that's what we're striving to be, as the scripture says, put on as the elect. All right, so with that, I pray that you have found this lesson here edifying. I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders of the nation of Israel. And shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Hey, until the next one, shalom.